We've been living in Thailand for exactly 6 months now, and we're so happy we decided to move here. From the white sand beaches to their amazing food and friendly locals, Thailand can be an amazing place to live if you're looking for a change. But there are a few things we wish we knew before we moved here. So in today's video, we're sharing our top 7 things we wish we knew before moving to Thailand. Number 1, the weather. Okay, so if you've ever been to Thailand, chances are you came during peak season, which is generally between December and February. And that's because the weather is damn near perfect. Picture clear blue skies with mild, warm weather every single day. We actually couldn't believe it when we had to throw on jumpers while we were riding our scooters around, which was kind of a refreshing change, to be honest. But the warmer months of March to May are long and hot, and depending on where you live, there can be a lot of pollution due to burning off. Thankfully, here in Hua Hin, where we live, it hasn't actually been bad at all. We had just a few days where the air felt a little bit polluted, but other than that, it hasn't been too bad. And I think most of that was the pollution coming down from Bangkok. Bangkok and Chiang Mai, however, are notoriously bad for pollution. In fact, in a recent news article I found, it said that Bangkok was listed as having some of the worst air pollution in the world for the month of April. So if you're planning on moving to Thailand, remember that while the weather is always warm, you may want to consider traveling out during the months of March to May if you want to avoid the heat and pollution. But don't worry too much. Thankfully, electricity is relatively cheap here in Thailand and most places run AC all the time. So if you have a condo or a villa, you can have your air conditioning running and it shouldn't be too much of an issue, especially if you live near the beach or somewhere with a pool. Number 2, healthcare. So obviously healthcare is something that's super important to us just in general. But with our first baby on the way, and now that we're living here, it's actually more of a priority for us than ever. And that was something we were a little concerned about, having never been to a doctor or hospital here in Thailand. But since we moved here, we've been to see the doctor at our local private hospital here in Hua Hin a few times already. And we couldn't be happier with the level of service and care. We actually think some of the hospitals here are better than back home, and the doctors are extremely well qualified and educated, and they all speak fluent English. It also happens to be a lot cheaper for medical bills here in Thailand. A lot of people actually come here for dental holidays as well as other cosmetic surgeries for that exact reason. Even if you include flights and accommodation, you can still save money on your hospital bills, which is absolutely crazy. Depending on where you live in proximity to a hospital, the response time for an ambulance can fluctuate. However, we are super lucky that we live just a couple of kilometers from our local hospital, and the response time is apparently very fast. And all the ambulances here are fully equipped for any situation. If this is something that may concern you, you might want to consider living somewhere that is close by to a hospital if possible. And of course, if you're moving to Thailand, just make sure you have good health insurance, especially if you're going to be riding around on a scooter. You really never know when you might need it. Number 3, water shortages. Unfortunately, one of the only drawbacks we found since moving to Thailand has been the water shortages we've experienced. During the dry months of March through to May, Thailand is currently facing its worst drought in 40 years. And with the Songkran festival taking place in April, where, let's face it, a hell of a lot of water was used throughout the week, this only made things worse. However, we were quite lucky and only experienced water outages for a few days where the water would run out periodically and then get turned back on. It wasn't a huge deal for us. As I said, we have our own swimming pool and we always had drinking water on hand. But we did hear from other people that they experienced it much worse, and some people even said that their water wasn't running for over 2 weeks. So just keep that in mind when moving here, and it really does go back to the months that you want to be here. The hotter, drier months, you may want to consider being somewhere else if this is an issue for you. Honestly, it hasn't been too bad for us, but it's something to be aware of and could possibly get worse in 2025 according to reports. We're now just coming into wet season, so hopefully the water supplies should become much better soon. Okay guys, so if you're moving to Thailand, you want to start off on the right foot and you want to have data on your phone literally as soon as you step off the plane. If you've ever traveled to Bangkok airport, you would know what I'm talking about when you see those little shops as you walk into the baggage collection that offer tourist SIM cards. I'm telling you right now, those tourist SIM cards are an absolute rip-off. They're way too overpriced and they don't give you good enough speeds. And that's why we've partnered on today's video with Olafly eSIMs. The last thing you want to do when you're moving to Thailand is to put your phone on international roaming and end up with a massive phone bill. So speaking from experience, there is literally nothing more frustrating to me than landing in a new country and having no phone data. And if you're going to be here for a while, you can get a 30-day Thailand Olafly eSIM and you can make sure your first month here in Thailand runs smoothly while you get all of the logistics and annoying stuff figured out. And honestly, once you're here, you might not even want to sign up to a local SIM card plan. And that's because Olafly offers packages for all of Asia, which means if you're going to do a quick border run to Cambodia or do a quick trip to Laos or Malaysia or something like that, you can use the same eSIM. In fact, you don't even need to get rid of your SIM card from home when you get an Olafly eSIM. You can keep it in your phone and keep receiving text messages and phone calls while you're away. Also, Olafly users can now benefit from automatic eSIM installation using the brand new Olafly app. This feature makes the entire activation process much easier and faster, which means more time to enjoy your trip and less time planning. It's literally never been easier to purchase and install an Olafly eSIM. However, just a quick note before you do go ahead and buy an Olafly eSIM, make sure you check if your phone's compatible. Most phones these days are, but we just want to be sure. If you want to try out Olafly eSIMs for yourself, just click the link in the description down below. Make sure you use code Lloyd and Mandy and you'll get 5% off at checkout. Number 4, groceries. We have traveled to a lot of different countries over the past couple of years, and each country has its pros and cons. We found that one of the downsides to Bali, Mexico, and especially Sri Lanka were the lack of grocery stores that stocked items we were used to having access to back home, such as high quality fruit and veg, meat, and of course snacks. But we've honestly been pleasantly surprised with how great the grocery stores have been here in Thailand. In fact, we've been able to shop pretty much the exact same way we did back home since moving here. Your main options for grocery stores here in Thailand are Lotus's, Tops, and Villa Market, which is the most expensive of the three, but we found it to have the best selection of local and international groceries. Also, you're never too far away from a local fruit and veg stand, which always sells fresh fruit and veg at a very cheap price. And in the grocery stores, everything on the shelf is translated to English for the most part, not to mention it's cheaper than shopping back home. While we tend to eat out at local restaurants a lot, mostly because the food is just so delicious and cheap, we also like to make breakfast at home and cook a home dinner a few times a week, and it's honestly been a breeze for us. I remember being in Sri Lanka and trying to find decent groceries, and we just couldn't find any fresh fruit and veg or meat in any of the stores we went to, which meant we had to eat out every single day, and it can get a bit much when you're traveling, especially when you really don't feel like going out. Thankfully, we haven't had any problems here, and we also found our favourite Aussie snacks. Online shopping. Since we moved into our villa here in Thailand, we've done a lot of online shopping to get our place furnished, and thankfully, online shopping is ridiculously easy, fast, and cheap. We've pretty much bought everything we needed for our house, and even things like electronics for work to make our life easier, from a company called Lazada. In case you haven't heard of it, it's pretty much like a Thai version of Amazon. There are tons of different local stores on Lazada with varying reviews, so make sure you do your research before you buy anything, but honestly, we've had a lot of luck shopping on Lazada, and we'd say 90% of the stuff we've bought has been of great quality and value for money, with just a few exceptions. However, they do offer a really easy return process in case what you buy isn't what you wanted. You can even order items using cash on delivery as your preferred payment method, so if you're worried that what you ordered isn't going to show up or it's going to get lost or stolen, you don't have to pay. An alternative to Lazada is Shopee, which is quite similar, but we found Lazada just to be the easiest, so we've gone with that. Also, all of the grocery stores we mentioned earlier offer free delivery services, as well as Grab Food, which is great for takeout. So honestly, if for some reason you just can't leave the house or you don't want to, you honestly don't have to leave the house. Number 6, wildlife. There is a ton of wildlife here in Thailand. From tiny geckos, frogs, snakes, monkeys, monitor lizards, and even tigers and elephants. Don't be surprised to see some pretty exotic wildlife and insects wandering around. Although tigers and elephants are kept to the national parks, it's not that unusual to see the occasional monitor lizard or snake out in the wild. Luckily, the only run-ins we've had so far have been with wild monkeys, which are generally well behaved, but do be careful with your belongings when approaching, as they have been known to steal items right out of people's hands. And the last thing you want is to be bitten by a wild monkey and end up in the hospital for a rabies shot. Last but not least, island time. Now technically, Thailand isn't an island, but we like to call it island time because that's the way things tend to operate here. When living in Thailand, you may notice that sometimes things don't exactly run on time. Now this doesn't apply to everything, but for example, if someone providing a service or a delivery is supposed to show up at a certain time, consider it more of a ballpark. Also, you'll notice businesses' opening hours that are advertised on Google for locally owned stores don't always mean that the business will be open at that time. So don't make plans to go to a restaurant just based on the hours you see on their Google page. If you can, call ahead to make sure that they're open, so that you won't be disappointed when you get there. And although this may seem like an inconvenience and something that back home we may not tolerate, we put it down to just the more relaxed lifestyle here in Thailand, and you do have to have a certain level of understanding and that the way of life here is just a little bit different. It's not as much of a rat race, which is one of the reasons to move here in the first place. So really, we can't complain. And like everything, you have to take the good with the bad, and we think it's a pretty good trade-off, honestly. And the level of service that you do receive here from local businesses such as restaurant owners really makes up for it. They call it the land of smiles for a reason, and everyone here is just so friendly for the most part. So that's it for our 7 things we wish we knew before moving to Thailand. We hope you found this video helpful. If you are considering moving to Thailand, make sure to check out our Thailand playlist, as we have a lot of helpful videos on things like visas and getting your driver's license and just general living expenses here in Thailand. We honestly don't regret moving here one bit. We absolutely love it, and we can see ourselves here for the foreseeable future. Thank you again for watching, and if you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe.